voters be concerned when they hear warnings from organisations like the TREASURY, the OECD, saying that Brexit would lead to a substantial loss in living standards for British people?
No, I don't think the British people should be concerned about these reports. We've got to remember these are reports commissioned by a government that want us to stay in the European Union. And we've had warnings from the IMF, from the European Commission and all sorts of other institutions. And it's because they've got their own vested interests. They support us staying in an institution, the European Union, that has a certain economic model, and they don't want that to change. I actually think we need to be listening to not the elites in the institutions, but the people out there in the country who have seen wages decompressed, who've seen their union rights attacked, and who've seen competition for workplaces increase enormously over the past 10 years. I prefer to listen to those people, not those people with vested interests in Brussels, in Westminster, who frankly do not know what it's like to live an ordinary life outside of the Westminster bubble. I'd rather we listen to them, because actually in this referendum, it is a referendum where the people will be taking on the elite. And as for the IMF, their conditions for Greece when they offered them a bailout was that they cut their social budgets. So I will not listen to an institution that damages public services, workers' rights and pay, and I'd encourage all Labour voters to vote to leave.
Millions of people have just gone out and voted in elections across the UK. When do we get to vote for the European Commission?
Well, the reality is we don't get to vote for anyone within the European Union that has any real power. We have a European Commission that is wholly unelected, yet they have the power to initiate legislation that affects the lives of hundreds of millions of people across the European Union. Yet you or I or anyone watching this, none of us can vote them out. We have a Council of Ministers that meets in secret in Brussels to determine the impact of legislation and how it will operate. Again, we only send our own minister. We have absolutely no say over any of the other ministers in attendance. The European Parliament is one of the weakest institutions of the European Union. Turnout in those elections are predictably and usually extremely low, and so there's a question as to the mandate that those members have. The reality is the European Union is totally anti-democratic. They've removed governments in Italy and Greece that have disagreed with policies. I think if we really want to have a democratic, self-governing country, the only option is to leave the European Union and make Parliament, our Parliament, just down the road in Westminster, once again the sovereign forum of the nation, where our laws are made, where discussions are held, and where people can actually have the power to elect and to remove their politicians.